Hey guys, Pastor Steve again. Hey, I wanted to share with you guys another passage of scripture, a little bit of my thoughts. I've been reading tonight in Luke 22, um, Jesus' prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane the night before he was crucified. And here's what it has to say. It says this. It says, he went out and he made his way. This is picking it up in verse 39 of Luke chapter 22. He went out and he made his way, as usual, to the Mount of Olives, and the disciples followed him. When he reached the place, he told them, "Pray that you may not fall into temptation." Then he withdrew from them about a stone's throw, knelt down, and began to pray, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup away from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done." Then an angel from heaven appeared to him, strengthening him. Being in anguish, he prayed more fervently, and his sweat became like drops of blood falling to the ground. When he got up from prayer and came to the disciples, he found them sleeping, exhausted from their grief. "Why are you sleeping?" he asked them. "Get up and pray so that you won't fall into temptation." You know, what's cool about this passage is, and there's a lot to unpack here, and I could spend an entire 40 minutes on a Sunday morning just talking about these few verses we read and just kind of breaking down all the details. But since we're trying to keep these short and more reasonable, since they're live and everything, what I'm trying to do is just look at this passage tonight from Jesus' point of view, from what Jesus did and how he reacted. Now, we know that he had this great weight on him since this was the night before his sacrifice, the night before he was going to be crucified. And it says that he went to the garden to pray. And what I love is that prayer that Jesus prayed, right? That, "Father, if there's any other way, let this cup pass from me. God, if you can change the plan, if it doesn't have to be this way, then let it not be this way." And then it goes on and it says there that um, he later there in verse 44 said he was in anguish and he prayed more fervently and his sweat became like drops of blood falling to the ground. I've been thinking about in this time just the way people have been praying and the way people have been saying things and the things that have been happening. And I like this from Jesus' perspective that he was praying so hard and he was praying so fervently and he was just so overcome by everything going on that night, his own sacrifice, the sins of the world, all these things, that his prayers uh, caused him to be so crushed under the pressure and under the weight that he actually sweat droplets of blood, which, besides being a really interesting picture, just kind of shows how intense his time of prayer was. And I think that's kind of just what I wanted to speak to you guys on for a few minutes. Is I'll admit my times of prayer aren't always super intense. They're not always those deep, fervent prayers. Sometimes it's more the short, "Save me now, Jesus" prayers, or "Hey, help me with these words." But it seems like lately, with everything going on, and I'm not talking about like the world and the virus, although that's part of it. I just mean in my own family, in my own house, and in my own uh, spirit and soul and mind. I've been having a lot of these times with Jesus where I've been praying these fervent, deep prayers because I'm so overcome and I'm so struggling and I'm so much in anguish that I don't know what else to do except cry out to Jesus and just experience that deep feeling with him. And what I love about this passage and what I want to encourage you guys with is, when you get to those points where you feel like you have nothing left and you're crying out in desperation and you're crying out in anguish and you're crying out in pain and brokenness and all these things, you can know that Jesus knows that pain and Jesus has been there and Jesus can help you through those times and he can relate to what you're going through and he wants to. And he wants to encourage you through this. And he encourages you, like he does the disciples there at the end of the passage, saying, "Get up and pray so that you won't fall into temptation." In those times where we're stuck, or we're in anguish, or we're broken, or we're down, the best thing to do is to run to God. and to just talk to Him. And my hope and my prayer is that in these next coming days and weeks and all this, as we talked last night about the seasons of silence and the seasons to listen, my hope and my prayer is that we would talk to God in these times, and we would really, even if we're broken, those are the best times to cry out to God and to just experience that anguish together with God over our sin, over our circumstance, over these things, and just let God begin to heal your heart. I believe I was given this because I think tonight somebody needs to hear that. Just God can heal your heart. So seek Him, spend time with Him. That's what I got for tonight.